So I'm pleased to be joined with Janet Campbell from the Joy Smith Foundation. And Janet, yesterday with the news that came out with people from Portage la Prairie and from really our own community getting charged with human trafficking, child exploitation, for the Joy Smith Foundation, which is obviously what you guys are focusing on and trying to bring awareness and everything like that. What is your reaction to hearing news like that?
Well, certainly we were very pleased to see that these individuals have been charged with their activities. And, one of the things that we know from all of the files that we work with in our office is oftentimes these cases are unreported and really they're not in the forefront. But I think when people ask if human trafficking really happens in our own community, yesterday is an example of, yes, it absolutely does. And this is something we see in our work every day. But I think the story yesterday really highlights and puts a spotlight on the fact that this crime is happening in our own neighborhoods right here in Manitoba.
And what would you say are some like signs or like tips if somebody sees something and they're like, okay, like what can they be on the lookout for?
So, one of the things we always encourage is for people to really start with their own circle of influence and then kind of work their way out from there. So, circle of influence being their own family and friends and neighborhood and communities that they're a part of, church communities, schools, etc. And really paying attention to those individuals in those communities for the 9 most common signs that we see would be you'll notice changes in the child's behavior. This could be a change in the way that they're dressing. It could be a change in the fact that their grades are suddenly starting to drop. It could be a change in their attitude towards certain activities or their community. And these changes are indicators that something could be going on. And oftentimes it's really important for people to pay attention to new individuals that come into that circle of influence. Oftentimes these cases are connected to somebody new coming into the picture in the child's relationship. So is it a new friendship? Is it a new romantic interest? So if we look at the story from yesterday, what we know is that a woman befriended these children, and through that they were then introduced to other individuals. That's what the police talked about in their report, and this is a very, very common pattern. So really paying attention to new influences and new connections in your child's lives.
And let's say somebody sees one of these differences, one of the changes made. What are some practical steps that they could take? Maybe they're like, okay, I'm not sure if it's anything, but like what's something that they could do?
Yeah, so first of all, I think it's very important for people to really pay attention to their instincts, and where things feel off, take the opportunity to speak up. In the case yesterday, there was a community member that noticed things that just seemed off to them, and they reported it to the police. And this is exactly what we encourage people to do, is to trust their instincts in that regard. It's okay to be wrong and have that information over to the police and allow them to do their investigations. And it's always confidential, so people don't have to be concerned. And those tips are so important for our law enforcement agencies to receive from the public, and oftentimes can be a real game changer in connecting the dots in some of the investigations. So that's something that we definitely talk about. When it comes to, our own circle of influence, our own family and friends, I would say, build on your knowledge and awareness of human trafficking, whatever level of knowledge or understanding that you have. There's always things to learn, and I continue to learn every day as well, and I will forevermore. So that's something. Build on your knowledge and keep the lines of communication open with the youth so that they're not afraid to talk about things that may have happened. I know when we go into schools and we survey kids going in and talk with kids in our workshops, they often will say that they were afraid to say anything to their mom or dad because they didn't want to lose their privileges and they didn't want to get in trouble. And so it's really important to keep those lines of communication open. Things can happen very quickly in online world and out in the world in general. And kids need to know that we're there for them. We're there to help them problem solve and that they won't be in trouble.
Mm. Yeah, really just be, like you said, aware of your surroundings, kind of eyes peeled, looking to see if you notice anything that's out of the ordinary, any sudden changes, one of those 9 changes that you were talking about a few minutes ago. So, Janet, thank you so much for just sharing with us and, helping educate us a little bit more, if we see something in our own lives, in our own circles.
It was great to be here.